Hey, welcome back to DieCash Cars. So you guys might have caught me on the Whatnot app live streaming, selling off cars from the personal DieCash Cars collection. Hopefully you got in on some of those deals, picked up some awesome pieces. It's been nothing but fun as of late. I mean, all the interactions and all the response from all of the viewers. I can't thank you guys enough, but question on everybody's mind, and because on this channel you guys know I am transparent on all things diecast investing, how I did on my first two shows on Whatnot. And while I present all this data, don't mind me, I'm just going to be showcasing a couple of gems that I've picked up in the last couple of weeks. But let's get right into the details here. Whatnot, I did two shows in the last 2 weeks. I was live streaming for a grand total of 5 hours, and I sold 163 cars, which netted me a gross sales of, drumroll please, $1,077 plus $12 in tips. So from the surface, if you think about that, over a grand for just 160 cars. If anybody handed you a grand for just 160 cars, I'm sure the majority of you guys would take it, myself included. But obviously on any selling platform there are fees, daunted fees, and I'm going to break it down for you guys. So basically what Whatnot does is they take 8% commission right out the bat. There's a 2.9% processing fee, and then they just skim off another 30 cents on every single transaction. So if you add up those fees, you think about it, it's about 8% plus 3%, that's about 11%. So that's really not terrible. If you think about it, eBay fees are about 14-15%. So 11% fees on Whatnot isn't too terrible, and the 30 cents per transaction is pretty negligible. But I will say I did a little bit of math on a couple of the items that I sold, and I will say that overall percent fee does vary depending on how much the item is that you sold. So for example, if you sell something at $8, all said and done, the overall fees comes out to about 16.75%. If you sell something at $26, comes down to about 12%. And then I was fortunate enough to sell a Zamac R33 for a whopping $51. And before you guys poo-poo on that, guys, it was factory sealed, limited to $12.50, so the price is substantiated, but nonetheless, $51 sale, and it actually came out to about 11.8% in fees. So my thought is that the fees start to plateau after about the $30 mark, so that should be a number that you keep in the back of your mind when you're selling on Whatnot. Is right around that $30 sale mark is about where you start to level off on Whatnot fees. On the flip side, guys, if you are on Whatnot selling $1, $2 cars, which I have been selling $1 to $2 cars on Whatnot at my last two shows, the fees are ridiculous. It comes out to about 29%. So all said and done, you're getting about a $1.50 payout. Plus, you're going to go through all the labor of packing something up and shipping it and whatnot. It's really not worth it. Best case scenario for $1, $2 sales is that you break even. So a little seller side note, if you're going to be on Whatnot selling $1 to $2 cars, it's probably a better decision to not even sell those cars to begin with. There are some exceptions, and I will get to that a little later in the video. So all in all, my two shows, 163 cars sold. I ended up with a net sales of $916 after the fees. So really not bad. I mean, yes, you do get hit with $150 in fees, but still, to walk away with about $900 for selling just 163 cars, that's really not terrible, right? However, it does get a little bit worse, a little bit more daunting, and this is kind of what steers people away from selling Hot Wheels on any platform, to be honest. But there are also some promotional costs, shipping costs, some other odds and ends that I will talk about, starting with giveaways. So that is probably the number one attraction when it comes to Whatnot, is viewers just come on to basically get in all these free giveaways. And by free, I mean free, guys. Like, you don't have to pay for shipping, you don't have to pay for the cars, you don't have to pay taxes. That is all on the seller, all just to draw you into the stream, just to get you to, by chance, buy something that the seller is selling. So me personally, I gave away a grand total of 11 giveaways in my first 2 shows. 9 of them were main lines that were treasure hunts and other odds and ends, sought after JDM and Euro, etc. I also did 2 buyer giveaways, sort of, that were RLC Malins, right? So I had the NBC Ultimate Challenge R33 in my first show, and then my second show, I had the Malin Mini Morris from the master set that was factory sealed. So the grand total overall promotional spend on giveaways for both of my shows came out to about $100, and that's the value of the cars along with the shipping. Then there's the cost of the cars themselves, right? So out of my 2 shows, there were 8 super treasure hunts. Yes, I'm selling super treasure hunts on my Whatnot stream, guys. So 8 super treasure hunts, which I value at about $25 a piece as far as how much money I'm into them in. And then there was 152 other main lines, which range from anything: treasure hunts, premium main lines, silver lines, to just straight up first editions. I will say a majority of them are from master sets and mini sets, so they're all factory sealed, which does bump up the value in them. But again, all of those I kind of value at just about $1, a little more, a little less. But the overall value of the cars that I sold on my 2 streams, as far as how much money I have into them, totaled $344. And then last but not least, and probably one of the most important things as a Whatnot seller of Hot Wheels, guys, is packaging materials. You're going to want to make sure that whatever you are shipping out to your buyers, that you send it in the condition that you showcased it in. And I honestly try to go above and beyond with my packaging. I mean, everything from bubble wrap, packing paper, packing peanuts, to good quality boxes that hopefully they don't get crushed within the USPS shipping method. But I spent a grand total of $82 on packaging materials to make sure everything got to my buyers safely. And that does include protectors as well too. And as you guys know, I only use brand new sterling protectors to ship higher end cars out to my customers. But all said and done, guys, the moment you've been waiting for, how much profit did I make after all of this? It came out to $390 of straight up profit on selling 163 cars worth of 5 hours of streaming on Whatnot. And I would say that's honestly not bad. I'm actually really happy with that, because if you think about it, $390 divided by 5 hours. 5 hours of streaming, that comes out to $80 an hour. I don't know about you guys, but I don't make $80 an hour in my day job. So that's pretty awesome that you can make this kind of money selling little toy DieCash cars that retail only cost about $1 each. And if you add back in the value of the cars that I actually sold, that I actually recouped back, I mean, that's a grand total of $746. So comparable to just taking these 163 cars, go into the convention or some kind of diecast, Hot Wheels, or toy show and just selling all of them for straight up cash and getting $746. But the difference and the benefit to Whatnot is that you can sell all of these cars faster you have a lot more eyes and ears. I mean, there are always people coming into your streams that are fresh, that are just looking for all kinds of things. And obviously there are impulse buys as well too. So it just depends on you as the host, as the streamer, how you showcase and hype up these cars in order to get those sales. But again, I'm very happy with the $400 profit. Very happy with recouping the money that I put into these cars. If you have to ask the question, is it worth it? Can you make a profit on Whatnot selling Hot Wheels? The answer is a big fat yes. But wait, it gets even better. So because Whatnot is still relatively new as far as selling platforms, I think they've only been live for maybe 3 or 4 years. But because Whatnot is still a relatively small platform for selling Hot Wheels, they gave me a promotional $150 match for my first $150 worth of sales. So I said my grand total profit was $390. They actually tacked on another $150 to that, with a grand total profit of $540. But again, you got to remember, I did also get $12 tip from my viewers throughout both of my shows. So again, I appreciate that as well too. So it brings my grand total profit to $552. So I mean, that, guys, honestly, I mean, I am more than happy with, again, on just 163 cars. So 2 shows in, guys, I know I'm not an expert as far as selling on Whatnot. There are some seasoned vets on Whatnot that do an amazing job selling Hot Wheels. One of my personal favorite Whatnotters is Hot Wheel Collector and Wifey. Dude is funny. I mean, he's got these inside jokes that you have to literally watch all of his streams to understand what the joke is and why it's so hilarious. He's got his partner in crime, his wife, that's always in the background packing up boxes, and there's just always this banter between the two. On top of that, the dude is really cool and sells really awesome cars. I mean, a wide variety. I mean, he's not just JDM, he's not just Euro, but he's got muscle cars. It's not just Hot Wheels, he's got all kinds of brands. So definitely give him a follow, like, and save all of his upcoming shows. And on top of that, I mean, his deals are awesome. He's always doing dollar starts, sudden death. I mean, dude is just giving stuff away. So he honestly is one of my inspirations as to why I started my own Whatnot. Now, I am nowhere near his level, but what I've learned from him, as well as just my experience with, again, my lowly 2 shows that I put up on Whatnot, I mean, here are some tips that I've learned that I think could help any of you, whether you are already a seller on Whatnot or maybe you're thinking about doing it. I mean, the first tip for you guys is you gotta trust your buyers. You can't go into a live stream timid and scared that you're gonna lose money, because, spoiler alert, you will lose money on certain deals and certain sales. But you gotta trust your buyers that what you're buying, that they will in turn give you a fair value for it. So it really is a good strategy to start off at $1, $2, right? Don't just start listing eBay sold prices as a starting bid. You gotta trust your buyers that they are gonna do you right and give you an accurate amount for the cars that you are selling. And the second tip, it kind of ties into the first tip, right, is you have to have a good selection of cars. So I'm not going to pinpoint any particular Whatnot sellers, but I think if you're going to just list and sell peg warmers that I could go to Walmart and Target right now and buy, first off, folks are probably not going to buy them. Second off, if you do get a sale, it's probably going to be well below what you want for those cars. And if anything, you're just giving Whatnot free money. So definitely take some time to really cherry pick cars to put in your show that will do you justice and will actually give you credibility within the Whatnot community. This third tip kind of cracks me up a little bit because I failed to do this in my first stream, but read the chat. You gotta be interactive with your audience. You gotta take requests and just kind of chit chat with them. You gotta make it fun. You gotta make it a positive experience for the buyer. So definitely don't ignore the chat. My issue with my first stream, guys, was I was so set on this sequence of cars that I was trying to sell, and I was getting all mixed up on who was buying what and for how much, right? And I forgot all about the chat, so apologies. But I think on my second stream I made it an emphasis, if not a priority, to interact with my audience and engage them, and I felt like the response was better. Leave it down in the comments below if you feel like I did better on my second stream versus my first stream. But yeah, you definitely want to engage with your audience. Always be closing. The ABCs of selling. Hashtag the office. I've jumped on a number of whatnot streams and I've noticed people just kind of stalling. Whether it was they weren't quite ready yet, they were still running around finding cars that they wanted to list, or I've seen streams where literally all you see is a TV and you're literally watching TV on somebody's whatnot stream. Like, I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful for your viewers. I mean, we're on this platform to buy, sell, trade, and interact with other Hot Wheel collectors, diecast collectors, and it's just not fair when you just have your stream on and there's nothing going on. There's no cars for sale. So you should always, again, be interactive, have something going on that's going to grasp your audience's attention, whether it's a giveaway, whether it's an item that you are selling or talking about selling. But don't just leave your audience and your potential customers just sitting there waiting for what's going to happen next. So I alluded to this next tip earlier in the video. You don't want to set yourself up for continuous losses on what you're selling, i.e. listing and selling cars at $1 to $2 on whatnot. I mean, the fees will eat you alive, but I will say that strategically you are supposed to take losses on whatnot, expect losses here and there, because the thing about selling Hot Wheels is that it's a give and take between the seller and the buyer. You're gonna sell items at a loss periodically, and that's gonna draw in more customers, or that's gonna bring repeat buyers, right? When I gave a good deal on, honestly, I had super treasure hunts that I sold in the teens. I mean, $14, $15. But because of that, I felt like I drew a tighter community. I drew a lot of repeat buyers. And those super treasure hunts, guys, again, I mentioned it earlier, but I value them as far as the money that I have into them at about $25. But it's those lost leads, and it's the fact that I'm okay with taking a loss here and there if it means that my customers and my buyers are getting a good deal, because then it builds that relationship, the buyer and seller relationship, and hopefully, right, fingers crossed, it allows me to get more sales in the future. So taking a loss is actually to be expected on whatnot, and you got to stop looking at each individual sale as a win or a loss. You got to think about the whole entire stream, all the cars that you sell holistically, and what those averages are as far as if your stream and your sales were successful or not, right? So if I were to just harp on a couple of cars that were sold under value, I mean, I would beat myself up. But again, you guys saw my numbers over the past 2 shows. I had a grand total profit of about $400. I mean, that is a big W in my book, and that's how I'm looking at my shows, not the individual cars that you may have taken a loss on. Because again, even though you took a loss, it helped with the sales of other cars that you sold and the profits that you gained on those. So it's a win-loss balance that you got to think about on Whatnot. And the last tip that I will share with you guys is you have to have fun on Whatnot selling Hot Wheels, right? There is a vibe check at the door. All of the folks, all of the viewers coming into your channel, I mean, they want to see a nice smiling face. And I know I don't show my face on Whatnot or YouTube, but at least give the impression that you're happy to be here, you're happy to sell, that you want to be engaging with them and talk about these cars while you sell them. I've seen some streamers where it's just doom and gloom. I mean, the lighting is bad, the voice is so monotone, and it's almost like they're being forced to sell their cars. Like, that's just not the environment that buyers of Hot Wheels and diecast want, right? Again, there has to be that mutual agreement where the buyer is willing to pay a certain price and the seller is willing to sell at those prices. If there is a disconnect there, you're honestly going to jeopardize future sales. You're going to jeopardize that relationship that you have with your potential clientele, and your time on Whatnot may be short-lived. So you have to have fun at selling. Otherwise, this might not be the platform for you. But in a nutshell, that is selling Hot Wheels on Whatnot. And man, it is a completely different animal versus eBay. I mean, eBay is more of a fishing game where it's just you sit and you wait to see if you can sell something. Whatnot is just rapid fire when it comes to cars. I mean, the difference between the two, guys, I would say Whatnot is probably where you would want to sell a large quantity or a bulk lot of Hot Wheels in a very fast pace, where eBay is probably better suited for higher end pieces that you're basically waiting for the right buyer to come and buy at a specific price. That's how I would differentiate eBay and Whatnot. And I got a lot of love for both platforms. Both of them have their place in the Hot Wheels buy-sell-trade category. But yeah, hopefully this video helped you guys. Hopefully it inspired you to become a Whatnot user and even potentially a Whatnot seller of diecast and Hot Wheels. And if I did my job correctly and if I inspired you at all, look down in the descriptions below. If you aren't a user on Whatnot already, you can use my referral link and we will both get a little kickback from Whatnot. And if you want to become a seller on Whatnot, I also have a referral for that. And if you use my link below, we will both get an even bigger kickback from Whatnot. So check out the description below for all those Whatnot details. For any other questions or comments, drop it down below. That's what I got for you guys today. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time on DieCash Cars.